You are listening to the BiG Scuba. This is an audio-only episode.
Hey everybody, I'm Tech Clark with the League of Extraordinary Divers podcast, the Dive Locker podcast, and director of the Nova Southeastern University Academic Diving Program. And this is the BiG Scuba podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the BiG Scuba podcast. Welcome back, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, Gemma. How you doing?
I'm really good, thank you.
Good. This one is episode 27, I believe.
Yeah.
27. Did you know 27% of the galaxy is actually made up of black matter? It's a little something. And the 27th atomic element is cobalt. So a little couple of facts there for you. Nothing relevant at all, and probably won't any use at all, but they were two little facts from listening to this podcast that you didn't know until then.
That's very useful. Thank you very much.
That's okay. So Jem, let's talk about what we've been up to. Talk about the weekend. So Saturday we went kayaking. We went up to Clayton Point. Took our friend Jodie out there, who'd never been there before.
Yeah, that was an amazing experience. Yep, saw the seals, had good conditions, relatively good conditions. We planned it, got our tides right, and it worked like a dream.
Yesterday we went in for a dive East Runton, which is just down the coast. We had massive, great big waves.
It was just very windy as well, which didn't help the conditions.
And also it's the autumn high tides here as well. So it was probably not the best. You got to live and learn, and you got to get in there, get involved, go get wet. And we want to try your suit, your lovely fourth element hydro suit.
Yes, so that gave it a good test, and it was its first outing in the sea. So I think, so Fourth Element have kindly provided me with a dry suit, under gear, hood, glove. So I'm very lucky, and it worked.
And we've done a short review of that.
We have,
if you dry suit, so that will be coming up on YouTube and social media very soon.
Yeah, and then Mares have provided a BCD and computer and regs, and that will all be on YouTube as well. But they're working.
I haven't actually had to buy anything. My goodness, some people just get everything given to them. My goodness, a fortune by all means.
I'm very appreciative of the assistance I've been given.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also need to say thank you to Fourth Element. We need to say thank you to Mares, who've been superb. Richard, Corner, and Rose, brilliant stand-in from Fourth Element. Dom as well, absolutely brilliant. And also we need to say thank you to Paralens, who've kindly provided us with one of their cameras. Hang of that, I'm not much of a cameraman. We're gonna show how versatile the camera is. Using it above water. And
it's so tiny, isn't it? It's just so easy. It's just like having a torch in your hand.
And the Honeymeister, Scuba Honey, he was using it in the pool and using it to film an octopus. So there'll be little snippets coming.
A rubber octopus, by the way, not real one.
No octopuses were used in that film. One very deflated rubber. What else? Also coming up in a little heads up, Suffolk. We've got a dive site. We've been asked to go and have a little test in Suffolk.
Yeah, that would be an adventure.
It's going to be a little adventure. And Paralens, with them giving us this camera, is under the banner of Go Explore. So this is one of the sites so far to go and explore. It hasn't been dived before. It's not open to the public, as we say. Don't know a huge amount about it, although I know there's fish and the visibility is not too bad at all. Can't say where, but hey, look forward to doing that in a couple of weeks' time and getting that out.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to look forward to.
Someone told me there's gold in there, but we'll see.
Top secret.
There's always a gun, or some people find these skulls and what have you. Who knows? We'll see what's in there. So Tech Clark. Let's talk about Tech Clark for a moment. So Tech Clark's coming up. He's our guest for today on episode 27. Absolutely fabulous guest. Learned loads from Tech, and actually realised what his name was. I always thought his name was actually Tech.
What is it then? I know, it surprised you when he zoomed up, didn't it?
I know. His name's not actually Tech, and he's really good. If you haven't seen him on his social media doing his press ups, he's really good at press ups. So And he absolutely loves people asking him to do some press ups. If you get a chance, just send a request in text.
I think you've still got another 20. You've got another 20 to do, I think, haven't you?
I don't remember that. Anyway, Heck loves press ups. Just always, when you ever see him and talk to him, just ask him, Heck, would you love to do another? He would. He would do that. That's the kind of guy he is. So one thing we learned off Tech was #transform. Okay, Christina, we learned
educate,
explore, conservation. Behind us, we learn volunteer. So all these people, we learn all these little words, and it all evolves around getting involved, forwarding, furthering yourself, and also being the change that you want to see.
Yeah, they're simple words, but very powerful and impactful.
They are. I was about to say why, but I'll leave that to the conversations. Anyway, that's enough about me. Then on Tech is far more interesting. So let's get on with the show.
Yeah, this is Tech Park, episode 27.
Enjoy it.
Monday morning comes around again. There's a concrete jungle is surrounding my head, and I want to be free. That's why I'm dreaming of the same.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hello, hi.
Hello.
Good. All right, perfect. Excellent.
Tech, have you sent your bearded brother? All the photos we sent of you've got no beard.
I know.
What's going on?
It's my coronavirus beard.
Does that keep it away?
Yeah, I think so. It's its own filter. It's like a natural filter. It helps. I put it out there. I did a whole thing to people where I said, I'm going to grow this, and it just like got huge and bushy, and it was just like sticking out. And then I put a Facebook post to let my friends vote what beard style they wanted me to shape it into. And so it was like, there was Jason Momoa, there was Mel Gibson, there was the guy from Gladiator, on and on. It was hilarious.
There isn't an Ian last one. I can't grow it. Can't.
You're getting there with the hair, though.
Yeah, all right. There you go.
Haircut at the end of the week.
Yeah, that's really kind of you to join us on the BiG Scuba podcast. So thank you very much.
It's so fun. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
So obviously I'm Gemma. I'm a non-diver. Nearly. I'm just about to do my open water qualification next weekend. So yeah, I was doing it obviously prior to lockdown, and then lockdown happened and it all stopped. So I literally did my dry suit orientation yesterday, and then I'm doing my open water next weekend.
That's a huge congratulations.
Yeah, so sort of getting to know Ian has rubbed off on me, and I'll give it a go. And yeah, talking to all these amazing people, it's kind of made it. Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, wow, that's so cool. Congrats, that's great.
So part of the podcast will be about obviously the journey that I've had, and I'm about to start.
I'm gonna have, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, so that's kind of me, and I like the water anyway. I'm a paddleboarder, like kayaking, live on the beach. So yeah, it's kind
I
of
saw that.
hopefully a natural thing. Yeah, so that's me. So Ian.
Okay. So yeah, I'm Ian, and I'm a father of two, Harvey and Honey. A dive master at my local diving club in Norwich, Crystal Seas. Help out with them, and I shall be Gemma's dive master at the weekend when we go through Gemma's open water. Cool. Been diving for about 5-6 years, and dive master for about 3 or 4. Really enjoy that role. Love helping out, getting involved, and seeing people come through like Gemma, the open water journey, and seeing them go on to great things. And some of them have gone on to dive all around the world and careers, now instructors, and I can be their dive master. It's really fun. So it's all really good. And cool. Like Gemma, I like to paddleboard, kayak, and help get and hopefully motivate my children to follow suit as well, get them involved in the sport as well. So that's quite good. So that's kind of me. So
how about you?
Well, and I loved seeing the video of you guys kayaking and paddleboarding together. I didn't know you had little streams and rivers and estuaries up there that you could do that in. That's so cool.
We've got some nice waterways around this way, so really blessed for having that on our doorstep.
And then you got the ocean there as well, so you have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, we're very lucky.
That's so cool. Nice. I love it. Well, what can I say? I grew up diving here in South Florida. At the age of 12 is when I became a certified diver right off the shores of Lauderdale by the Sea here. And then I quickly went into advanced, saved my money for my class and equipment, and worked at a supermarket so I could make money to do that. Then when I went away to school at the University of Florida, and my second year there, I had to drop a golf class, and I needed 2 credit hours in a health science, exercise science class. And there were these guys there that said, "Hey, are you a diver?" I said, "Yeah." And they said, "What level are you?" I said, "I'm an advanced diver." And they said, "Well, you could take this next level class. It's called assistant instructor. It's 2 credit hours and it meets this time a week, blah, blah, blah." And so I joined up with the dive program, and I became an assistant instructor that semester. And then after that, was on to the instructor course, which I didn't think I was qualified for. I really wasn't a good assistant instructor at all. I had a lot of conflicts. I wasn't around much. But at the end, all my buddies were becoming instructors, and they said, why don't you be an instructor? And so the night before the instructor class started, I called my mom. I was like, "Can I borrow some money? I want to become an instructor." And she said, "It's always something you could fall back." And so that was kind of our funny running joke forever, is that what was something that I could fall back on became my career. As soon as I graduated from the university, I had an internship at a national scuba training agency, YMCA scuba program. So I went from an intern to a consultant to the assistant director, then to the national director, all in a 2-year period.
Wow.
And then that just launched my involvement in the industry. I got to work with all the top manufacturers and all the top training agencies. And along the way, I got to teach at other universities. Before that, I should tell you, I directed the University of Florida dive program before I graduated. So this was the largest university training program in the country. So got a lot of training and teaching experience, and became a sheriff's diver with Broward Sheriff's Office, a public safety diver with them. And then eventually was doing forensic dive accident investigation when I ultimately left my position as the national director of the YMCA Scuba program. So I've had a lot of positions in the industry, and now I run the academic diving program at Nova Southeast University in Fort Lauderdale. And also have the 2 podcasts, the Dive Locker podcast for dive professionals, and then I have the League of Extraordinary Diver Legends. And then I have an app and the website Scuba Guru, and I think that's about it. So
quite a lot.
Pretty busy.
Yeah. So you're based in Florida. Have you always been based kind of there, or have you traveled?
Yes, based here in South Florida since I was a kid, but then I went to Gainesville to go to university. After Gainesville was Atlanta, Georgia, where the headquarters of the YMCA Scuba program. I met my wife in college at University of Florida, and so we kind of went around. She is a clinical psychologist, so we danced in a couple places while she was getting her residency and her postdoctorate, and then landed back in the same neighborhood I grew up in as a kid here in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, that's nice.
Because this is just an epicenter for diving and free diving. Scuba diving's my job, free diving's my hobby, and this is just the perfect place to go. So that's why we're here. And I have 2 kids, and they love free diving as well. So
has lockdown had quite an impact on you, or are you now sort of edging out of it?
Well, it's kind of odd that you say that. We have had a really great time, actually. This has been a time of bonding with my family. Our kids don't have school, so they were here finishing up school. My university sent all of the employees home to work from home. And so we just got really together as a family. It was awesome. Then they closed down our beaches, and then we couldn't free dive. And then that really stunk. Then we could free dive. So I went free diving last week with the family, and we just had a beautiful time. And then they closed the beaches again for our big 4th of July celebrations this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which really stinks. So now Miami, who is just to our south, Miami, Florida, is now going back to eliminating all restaurants from being open and gyms. So the statistics of coronavirus here in South Florida are escalating at an alarming rate. And so now government is starting to shut everything back down again. And I'm pretty sure Fort Lauderdale next or so that we get shut down. So that's kind of the bummer, but it is what it is. These are just odd times that we're all dealing with.
Yeah.
And again, I also have used this time to transform. I have the word transform literally up on my mirror in my bath. And this is a time to transform. I had a passion to come out of this better than I went in. So more fit, more in shape, and also more technically skilled and professionally skilled. So I've gone on a path to become a freediving instructor. So I'm working with Performance Freediving Academy, Kirk Kroc and Mandy Ray Cruikshank. And so I'm going through that program, learning from home, doing Ted Hardy's program that he has for the 28-day freediving, the breathing and lung volume, Stig Severinsen's course that he did. So I'm using this time to soak as much of that I can into freediving to actually take it to the professional level, to come out of this and become a freediver.
So did you put that up on your mirror at the start of the lockdown, or has that always been up on your mirror?
No, at the start of coronavirus is when I wrote it and put it up. It's still up there. It's a little faded now, but it's still up there. That. And it's just a reminder every day to do something towards a goal.
Yeah. I like that, because I think, from talking like you have, you've been talking to people as well, and you kind of come across the same sort of theme where everybody's gone through this, and it's good that some people like yourself are using this to improve and reevaluate and think, right, okay, do we want to go back to what we were, or do we improve and use this time in a positive way? That's really good to hear.
Yeah,
I like that.
Thanks.
Yeah, all right, that's cool.
And it's reinforcement too. So if I look at the transform word and you're staring at yourself, I can tell if I've put on some pounds or if I've, taken off some pounds. So luckily that's been fortunately going the good way. I'm taking off pounds. I'm feeling better. And just getting into shape and things like that, which a lot of it is very unique. I've gotten into yoga, and I've never been a practitioner of yoga, but this helps so much with chest flexibility and be able to get all of the muscles in the thorax, shoulders, neck, diaphragm, abdomen, back, all of these muscles now with all the yoga that I'm doing at home, which is just perfect. I just watch, these apps and just go through all these different yoga and yoga flow sequences and following some of the other freediving protocols. And right now, my breath holding and comfort is just really wild, and my flexibility. So going and hitting the reef with the freediving fin, the range of motion is so much more there as well. The strength in the back is there, buttock strength is there, the hamstring strength is there. And so to be able to be in a really nice flow underwater, freediving's just been wonderful. So I've seen remarkable change just from yoga. It is. And so, on the scuba diving side of it, as well as freediving, one of our biggest problems that we are going to encounter physiologically is carbon dioxide. And so, we can always talk about having an improved cardiovascular. Well, that improved cardiovascular system, improved blood flow, improved circulation also leads to improved gas exchange. And so that improved gas exchange is a really great thing to be able to release that CO2 so much faster in your body. The second benefit is that when you do high intensity training, you're also spiking heart rate and you're spiking CO2 levels. So you almost can't catch your breath to a point. And then, in your early days, you started building up you started building up lactic acid, right? So now, you shift that and you start to look at, well, my lactic acid is better. Why? You're not harboring the same CO2. You're not getting the headaches that you may have gotten early on with high CO2 spike. And so that's the second thing, is that high level intensity workout giving you a higher threshold for carbon dioxide tolerance. And so that is another great thing that has to do with your ability to have a good air consumption, is that the CO2 levels aren't affecting you as much. You're just simply not affected by them. So the chemoreceptors that are sensing them, it's there. You're just not as effective. It's really remarkable how our body.
It is. You're also involved in you also started a ministry as well.
Yes.
Reef
Yes.
Ministry. Tell us about that. How long you been involved in that?
Well, I grew up in the Catholic Church, and with a family that was very, I would say, solidly Christian, but I wasn't. I went to Catholic high school, could have cared less. Went to college, could have cared less. I really didn't have much of a faith at all. Then when I got married, I married a wonderful woman of God. She just loves the Lord, so she had a different way of looking at faith and at what church meant and what the Bible meant and everything. And so I thought, that's nice for you. You just do your thing. Well, after, years of kind of watching this and then having our first baby, then understanding the great values of faith and so forth in a house were just intriguing to me. And I thought, okay, well, then just the Holy Spirit moved within me. There was a definite, over time, I asked so many questions of so many people in faith. I had all these doubts and, I don't believe that, and I don't believe that, and I don't believe that. And then, as you've heard many people say, they've had a conversion experience. I literally did. I just really had a very powerful time of an awareness that it's not about me, that there is a creator, and that God and through his son Jesus, was able to redeem those that were in sin. And all of a sudden it became so amazing to me that I felt like, oh my gosh, I left this part of me behind. Now I need to catch up. So I literally went to seminary, right? We joined the church and I went to seminary just so I could learn the stuff that I didn't pay attention. And then that opened up a whole lot of new things, new awareness. I studied Hebrew, and Hebrew, who studies Hebrew? I did. And it was great because I started to learn so much about it. And it was fantastic. Yeah.
Just butt in very quickly. So I think I know what you mean, but just to check my understanding, when you say seminary, do you mean it's like a college and it's going to teach you all about the Bible and that's about some of the books in?
That's correct.
I think we call it something else. I'm trying to think what we call it, but
it's graduate level training, graduate level education to get a master's in theology.
Okay,
you could get a doctorate in theology, but that's what I was studying, and so I had just this unbelievable passion to say, wait, God has blessed me. I mean, blessed me so richly with just this wonderful life, great family, and I get to do this thing that I love, which is going underwater. And back in the day, when I was first teaching, I would have students come up to me and say, I feel closer to God underwater than anywhere else on earth. And I'd go, yeah, it is cool, man. High five, right? Awesome, rock on. But it was years later, once I really became in tune with faith, my faith and my beliefs, that all of a sudden I realized, oh my gosh, there is a reason why people feel closer to God underwater. There is truly a spiritual connection underwater that we feel humble. We feel that we are not the center of the universe, but we're actually insignificant. We humble ourselves and we pay attention, and we get the distractions of the world go away, and we get to focus on the beauty, the diversity, the silence, the colors, the shapes, everything that is what the underwater world that makes all of us so crazy about it speaks to us, and it speaks to our heart. And so I firmly believe that that is a part of how we're all made. And for those of us that have this beautiful connection, to me, diving becomes a worshipful experience. I get to go underwater and just give praise to this beautiful creation that I get to appreciate. I get to be here and see all this, and it makes me feel different. I'm literally different when I'm done diving, and you will be that way too, Gemma. You're gonna be different after every dive, and even the bad dives, you're gonna be different. And to me, that was a spiritual connection, a spiritual thing that I get to be underwater and make it a worshipful experience. So because of that, long story, but that's what led to Reef Ministries. I decided to create a ministry where we go underwater and look at the underwater world as the handiwork of God. Now, this doesn't resonate with everybody, obviously, but for church groups and homeschool groups and for Christian schools and Christian educators and stuff like that, they like to go on a trip where we are going to pay attention to how is this created and why is this created and why does that speak to you and what are the worshipful elements of our time. So that's what Reef Ministries is in a nutshell.
So it sounds like the two go well hand in hand.
I think they do, and the people that have a strong faith believe the same. And, you know, whether your beliefs about creation are that, you know, the world was created in 7 days, or if you don't believe that, or if you have a Christian principle, but, you know, you believe that there was evolution there. The fact is that none of us were there. None of us were there when the beginning of the world was created. So we literally, we don't know. We can't take a position of absolute knowledge. So that's why I'm extraordinarily graceful when I meet people that say, I believe in evolution, I don't believe in creation, and I don't this. Well, guess what? I was with you back in college. I didn't believe any of that. Now I do believe it, but it doesn't mean that that one should be scorned for their beliefs. The fact is, though, is that if you can believe that it's not just us, and this all just didn't happen by chance. Now you start in on the whole, well, yeah, I do believe that there is a creator. I believe that there's a God. And wow, look what they did underwater. It blows people's mind of how beautiful the underwater opposed to many other things on land. And so,
have you tried a prayer meeting?
Those elements, it's amazing. What's that?
Have you tried a prayer meeting water yet?
Well, that's kind of what we're doing, but everybody's on their own. I did meet some people that once got in a circle underwater and they held hands and they were praying to themselves. And I thought that was neat. But our time together just really starts more with a devotional. And more and more people are asking about our trips, but, we just did them here and we did them in the Bahamas and in the Keys and that's it. But they're weather dependent and everything. So it's kind of sad for people to fly in or drive in to South Florida to do our snorkel trips or scuba trips that were faith-based. And then the trips would be canceled because, our seas down here aren't always flat and nice. So what we did was we decided, let's create the same course that we do before all of our trip. And that is where we launched it online now. So Reef Ministries is now online with blogs and different things like that and different articles, but it's a course now. So someone can take this course that teaches them how to make their time underwater more of a worshipful experience. And that could be for any group. There's church groups that have dive club here in South Florida. Churches that have dive clubs. It's kind of fun and crazy. But there's dive clubs all over the place. So if there's a faith, then they like this type of training. And homeschoolers, they like a more creation-based account of marine biology. And so we have experts, 5 experts that speak about marine biology. And it's just awesome. So that's how we did it, so that people around the world could still get the Reef Ministries experience, but they get to go diving on their own. They don't have to come to South Florida to do it with us.
Yeah. Well, that's great because it's technology as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
exactly. Get people out there. So, and it's a great, different dimension to diving as well.
Yeah, which it's very unique. Not many people are doing, but there is the Worldwide Christian Scuba Divers Organization. They're out there as well. But we just have a little bit more of an educational side. They have a mission. So it's funny. I mean, in diving, if you have a passion, it doesn't matter what your passion is. It can incorporate into diving. Even fitness, right? So you're talking about fitness, and there's experts that are just into fitness and diving, and then photography, bring it underwater. There you go. You name it. Zombie apocalypse. I mean, now there's a zombie apocalypse course out there, right? So if you're into zombies,
there isn't. No.
Yes, there is a specialty for zombie apocalypse specialty.
I want to do it.
There's so many pathways for divers to go. It's just, it's quite mind-blowing. Yeah.
Exactly. I'll have to look it up.
Exactly.
The zombie apocalypse. How cool is that?
So obviously we've got listeners that are non-divers and divers. So have you got any advice for non-divers and people like me just starting out on their scuba journey? What advice would you give to?
Yeah, if you have any inspiration at all to go underwater or to see the underwater world and what it's about, the number one thing that I can give any listener advice on is that you want to focus on your training to be as comprehensive as possible. Do not get suckered into cheap and quick. Cheap and quick, and you will not be diving next year. You will not be diving in 2 years. If you focus on cheap and quick, you come away with insecurities about yourself underwater. The more time that you can put in with an instructor, both in academics and underwater, but especially underwater, in your pool sessions and in your dive sessions, that's where this becomes so important, is that you then get the motor memory, the skill development, the comfort of being underwater and doing the various skills that need to be done to master. Mastery doesn't happen in a 2-day scuba class. People might not like to hear that, but that's how it is. Mastery happens between multiple repetitions of a skill, and then that's where comfort comes. So that's why that's my number one tip, is to focus on a course and training that will be the most comprehensive that you can get, and the most of everything, time underwater and time with an instructor. That is the secret to a long and happy and healthy diving recreation, as well as
That's good advice.
Yeah, good advice. Yeah. Have you seen a change in people's diving over the years?
in people's diving.
Are you finding that people are putting more time into getting themselves educated dive? Are you seeing more standards change and things like that?
Well, unfortunately, Ian, there's a reason why standards change. Standards change to do one of two things: to either boost an economy of the ability to do more diving and have less barriers to entry, as we called it in the early days of kind of coming out with standards development. Barriers to entry was a big term, and the more you put into a scuba class, then the more it was a barrier for someone to take scuba. So there's the economic side. And then the other side is where you look at that people want to perform. They want to do something, but they also might not commit 100% to something. Right. So the standards change because they aren't really committed. The professional might not be committed. The dedication isn't there. And then boom, something goes wrong. So the second side of standards changes comes from that there are incidents. And then we learn from those incidents. And then we say, maybe that should change in our training. And then industry changes. And so these two things are a balancing act of how to keep everybody safe, but at the same time, not be so cumbersome that it's a barrier. The problem is that over time, the idea of this mastery and the idea of competition starts to get to where you see scuba certification and training getting reduced down to a bare minimum. And that bare minimum is what different people compete against other people for to get someone in the door. My class is cheaper than your class. My class is faster than your class. Well, to a normal consumer, all of us listening right now, we like Amazon. We like, cheap and quick, and I want it in prime delivery in 2 days. That's consumerism. It's not a bad thing, but when it comes to something like scuba training, then it becomes problematic. And what we do see, and this is echoed by dive boat captains worldwide, is that every year, it seems, they see a difference in the caliber of dive. The proficiency just isn't there like it once was when longer classes. Now, I'm not saying that longer classes is the way to go, and I'm not saying that e-learning is bad. I think e-learning is awesome. But when we replace a hands-on instructor in a classroom with just watching a video, you miss a lot of really great things.
You can't replace that.
Exactly. So we're not seeing as much academics, and we're not seeing as much skill develop. And because of that, that means that we're seeing more incidents. I don't mean accidents. I mean incidents. Yeah. People can't set up their dive gear on a boat. People don't have dive boat etiquette. They don't do the right procedure. They come up at wrong times. They are way off of their gas and, don't have a good breathing rate. They crash into the reef. They can't get down because they can't equalize their ears, and they're not sick. They just never taught the right. So we're seeing this repeatedly out. So to answer your question, yes, I would say that there's a lot of changes that we've seen, but technology has also been great. So our computers are safer than ever. Our equipment is safer than ever. That's all great. Dive sites are wonderful, but
this is now a good segue to my next question. So what do you think? You've seen dive, for a good number of years and involved in free dive and scuba. What do you think is going to be the next piece of kit that's going to be coming out? That's going to change the world. Got any thoughts of where it might come from? Because they've tried the whole let's have a mask with a rebreather attached, haven't they? And that didn't seem to come back.
I think that technology will come along. I think that will actually matriculate into something credible. It might not look exactly like the prototype unit that came out and everybody kind of went, woo, over. Will it be that? Potentially. I think that what's weird is that if you said years ago, hey, we're going to make a full snorkel mask that's a full face and we're going to put a snorkel up here, people be like, are you kidding me? And today there are people going, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But when you look at the sales of them, the sales are staggering.
Yeah.
It shows you that the consumers want something that maybe not other people want or think is great. So I have a feeling, just like everything else with technology, it's going to come from some kind of grassroots need or desire. And I think that that's what's going to pop up. And it's going to be something that we don't even know exists today. That's my prediction. My son was just saying this at the dinner table. In the future, it's not going to be about jets and flying cars. That has been envisioned for 50 years, right? It's going to be something that people don't even know they have a need for, and that's the need that's going to pop. And that's, I believe, where we're going.
So the thing about our podcast is that we want to do our little bit to encourage more women into the sport, because it's always been a bit of a male lead in sport. Are you seeing on your side of things more women joining the sport of free diving, scuba diving?
Oh my gosh, yes. It's wonderful. At my university, our dive program, we have, what was the number? 70%? What was it? Oh my gosh, 2, 3. I'll have to do the math in my head. Anyhow, it's something like 75 to 80% of my staff are female, and at our university, 65% to 75% of our scuba students are female. In our last semester, we had 2 sections of it. One section of 8 students had 3 men. The second section was all women. All 8 students were women. So in that particular class, out of 16 students, only 3 were men. So we're seeing this. We're seeing this quite a bit. And I believe that it is a wonderful sport. It's adventurous. And I believe that more women are getting into adventurous activities that speak to them. And the beauty and diversity and serenity of the underwater world is an area that's like an art form. And I believe that there is a true passion and calling for women to engage in something that has all those elements to it. It's not just some, rough and tumble, hardcore hoo-yah thing. We're also seeing more women get into technical, but technical diving still remains a very male-dominated area. But we are seeing some definite changes there. And then free diving is really interesting. I believe that that free diving is what we're seeing many more young people come into. It is the feeder sport to scuba. And there are many people that just stick with free diving because their time underwater is so rich, and they love how their body feels, and they love that they get to focus on their body. So in a very positive and healthy way. So just as in the majority of yoga practitioners are female, the majority, when you start looking at free diving, it's the same kind of tenets, and it's catching on. So I think more women are responding to free diving. And They are really getting into it. Some of the best world champion freediving athletes are women. And I almost would go out on a limb. I don't know this for sure, but anecdotally, it looks as if there are more record-holding world champion women in all different places and diversity than there are on the men's side. And so it's like, you get a man and he dominates apnea and dynamic and constant weight, and he has great things in all these disciplines. But then you look at the women and it's like, she's great at that, she's great at that, she's great at that, she's great at that. And it just seems like there's almost a larger breadth out there. I don't know that for sure, but that's kind of what I see. So I would say, that we are seeing that more and more today. And I am so delighted that our industry is gone away or is getting away from the Speedo wearing, shark's tooth hanging, bare chest with the big 10-inch, 12-inch knife strapped to their calf. That's the kind of instructors that I remember growing up in the 80s seeing. There's no room for that today on that bravado side. I don't mean if somebody wears Speedos and a knife and has a shark's tooth.
Quite interesting.
I might do that tomorrow because I look like Tarzan anyhow. So, but the deal is that I think we're getting away from that. And that men are not dominating this sport, and that it is inclusive for women to be a part of. And the manufacturers are taking attention and making wonderful cuts for wetsuits and BCs and so forth. And that's been happening for years. Color choices, different things like that. So I love that that's happening in our industry. It's so healthy and it's so neat.
It is. And we've got Paddy's Women Dive Day coming up very shortly as well, haven't we? And events like that, will all help encourage and motivate more women to come and join and learn the sport. So, and all that is all good stuff to keep the sports going, isn't it? So
exactly.
Yeah, brilliant. That's really great. It's good to hear. So how about yourself? Because one thing we've learned doing this podcast is that some of the people that we've had on, they seem to go down a route of either tech diving, instructing, or cave dive. Where would you sort of put yourself?
Well, in many aspects, cave is part of the technical community. I did my fair share of cave diving when I was at the University of Florida because it was in Gainesville, Florida, which is just a half-hour drive to what we call cave country, the area of High Springs and associated areas around there. Top spot in the United States for cave diving. That was our backyard. So I cut my teeth cavern diving, then cave diving, and that was a fun part of my life at that time. But where I really felt my skills were best utilized were in teaching and teaching others. And that happened for me from my first day my first semester as an assistant instructor. I remember that we all had to give a presentation in front of the live class. And so to do that meant to go into the auditorium. Now, I think I may have mentioned that the University of Florida dive program was the largest dive training program in the country. Yeah. So our classroom would hold 200 students. Wow. And so we would teach to 200 students, and then we would break them up into all these different pool sessions all during the week, the lab session. Well, my first time teaching about wetsuits, I go in there, I've never done public speaking before, other than in a class for a class project to, your classmate. This, however, was teaching to real students, just trial by fire, go for it. I remember I was horrible at it. I wasn't loud enough, so people in the back of the auditorium were yelling, speak louder, speak louder. That made me more nervous. I had technology issues because back in the day, we had slides and overhead projectors. So you had the overhead projector with a little piece of transparent plastic, and then you'd write on it. So if you were shaking, they could see you're shaking in the big overhead. It was horrible. I was so nervous. To make it work, the rest of the staff, the trainer that were training us, our instructor trained, there was a media projection booth in the back of the room because it was a huge auditorium. And in the projection booth, there's these little square windows that the projectors and movie things could come out of. Well, every trainer was mooning me in every, so I would look up and I would see butts in all of these windows and then 200 students below all the butts in the windows. And that was my first time speaking. So I made it a point from then on to just be good at speaking. So I had all my ducks in order from that day on because I never wanted to feel that way again. Most people hate public speaking. So imagine what you'd feel like after that experience. I went the other way. I just said, no, I'm going to master this. And that became my thing. And so then I regularly would present to 200 students. I became the lecture coordinator, ran the program. And then at the age of 20, I was speaking at national conventions for scuba diving and going on from there. So that to me was where I found my passion in training others and specifically training other instructors. So I very quickly got into that realm of what it meant to do things and how to teach and so forth. So that is where my focus went. Freediving has always been a passion of mine. I was a freediving judge. I was captain of the U.S. freediving team. And now it's been a hobby, but I want to take that professionally now and also become that. So I think that we all try different things and you become a more well-rounded instructor or dive professional or dive master when you do explore into different areas. But it doesn't mean that you have to go that way forever. I'm a huge believer of do it, but if you're not going to 100% put into mastery of that, then don't do it. Because then if you aren't committed to technical diving, it becomes unsafe. If you're not committed to the proper way to free dive, it becomes unsafe. So when you dabble in anything, even scuba, we see it down here, unfortunately. People go for an entire year of not diving and then ding, lobster season comes last week of July. And now everybody dusts off their equipment. They haven't been diving. They haven't had refreshers. They go to get their tanks filled and maybe their tanks are expired or their equipment needs fixing or whatnot. It becomes this huge time. And then everybody hits the water to try to get as many lobsters as they can right when the season opens. Unfortunately, we see deaths. Every year there's some type of incident, accident, maybe even fatality that takes place. One year we had 6 fatalities just from that. That's a staggering number to a sport that has maybe 100 fatalities in a year in all of the top destinations combined.
Has anyone looked into that and to see what the cause is? Is there a particular underlying cause which has been common?
Yeah, so a lot of it is medical. So if a person is not used to the equipment, the breathing, the pressure, all the different things that go along with, now all of a sudden they're jumping into a sport that they haven't engaged in a while. So just like we were talking about CO2, well, what if somebody isn't breathing right? What if they're trying to quote unquote remember how to breathe and now they're taking big breaths or shallow breaths or something like that? That can be an issue. And then that stresses the cardiovascular system. So if somebody has an underlying already existing high blood pressure, and now they become the weekend warrior or the 1-year warrior for diving, instead of having that heart attack at the bowling alley, they have it underwater. So that is something that we do see. Medical can be something that is insidious and sneaks up on people.
I thought there's one thing listening to you, and there's always been something that's always bugged me, and I've never, I probably should take it forward and ask the question, is that when we do a refresh in the pool, and you get somebody to come on who hasn't dived for years, and they've got a holiday booked or anything like that, and as far as I'm aware, unless things have changed the last time, we never have to say, can you still do your 200-meter swim? If they haven't dived for, and say they haven't been in the sea, haven't bowled for several years, we check to make sure they can kit up, and we go through basic skills, all those sort of things. But the one big fundamental thing we don't have to say, can you still do your 200-meter swim? And I think, well, why aren't we doing that? Because I think, well, that's quite a big thing. If you're a diver, that, and you rely on to help you maybe get back, you've got cramp, whatever, and they can't do that. You're kind of both in a muddle.
Yeah.
And you think, well, if you haven't, a lot of people can change within 1 year, let alone a few years. And I think, well, that really should be coming into a whole part of the policy, right?
Yeah.
Right, can you still do your basic 200-meter swim? If you can, great. If you can't sign your bike back on.
Yeah, so you bring up a perfectly great and legitimate question, Ian. So think about this. First of all, is that the test itself that's incorporated by the Scuba Training Agency is actually not a fitness test. It is a test about aquatic comfort and proficiency. So can a person do this? Now, if it was a fitness test, we might push them harder. We might say, do it in a certain amount of time, right?
Yeah.
Or do it in a different distance. 200 yards isn't much, and there's no time limit. So because of that, it's really not meant to be any type of fitness evaluation. It's that, can the person swim? And then on top of that is a float tread. It's not tread out of the water with your hands out of the water for 10 minutes. It is tread, and if you get tired, you can float. So I've seen people literally do the swim test and they've never gotten their hair wet. I've seen people that are so buoyant that they can just sit and not even move their legs or arms, and just they're floating in the pool and the wind is blowing them. The only reason that they are moving their arms at all is to stay in one spot, And so when you look at that, is that any determination of health and fitness? It's really not. It's about aquatic comfort and your ability to swim in this environment that you're about to be in. That's what that has been for. But now here's the cool news, is that according to the newest medical history exam, medical screening exam that has just come out by the UHMS, the Undersea Hyperbaric Medical Society, in conjunction with RSTC, Recreational Scuba Training Council, RSTC, and International RSTC. They have now authorized and adopted this brand new medical screening form. We haven't had a major change to this form in years and years and years. In the form, they put in there, and they put in, I forget what it is. I believe it's walk a mile in 15 minutes, something like that. I don't know it off the top of my head. I apologize for not knowing that, but the form just came out, and it's something like that. It's asking the person if they can do a little bit of a fit thing. Now, more people walk than ever swim in a pool or anything like that. So it would have been almost irrelevant if they had put, can you swim 200 yards in this amount of time, or anything like that. So I believe they went to walking as a measurement criteria for someone's overall health. I applaud that. I think this is a great thing in the right direction, because here's the deal. A refresher is a scuba training course. It means the participant must fill out a medical screening questionnaire to participate. It's part of the standard. So that's great. And that will help a little bit with a better fitness determination, because they incorporated more of a fitness interpretation in there, which I love. I think that's great.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Well, that's handy. That's good to know. And thank you very much for letting us know about that. So that's good. So let's just talk about some of the other things that you do. You're involved with the podcast. You do.
Yeah.
How do you find time? Because you're really busy. You're involved with everything, with the 2 podcasts, your ministry. So, and the book. You got the book out with 10 biggest mistakes for divers. Book. So how do you find time for it all? We've got one podcast and YouTube channel, and that's a hell of a job to keep up with it all. So how do you manage it? Or have you got a team to help you?
No, my team is my family. They love me and they support me. And so my kids are home right now. They're in the other room knowing that Daddy is recording right now. So I have to send a text.
Hi, kids.
Daddy's recording. Be quiet, right? Type of a thing. But they're very supportive of me. And really what it's about is that I wake up super early in the morning and I get ahead on things. And that's where I try to do my side projects, are on my early morning. And so that's my quiet time, it's my writing time, it's my creative time, it's my editing time. And so then I find time for interviews. They always don't go on my schedule, but they might be at a night someday or whatnot. And then I'll plug in the editing to a morning sequence. So when you think about it, like the app that I made, the Scuba exam app, it's an app to help people get better at scuba exams so they could study for open water, advanced, dive master. All this content is in there. All the agencies are in there. The deal is, it took me months to write that. Once I wrote that, then it became a static thing that just exists. The same with the 10 mistakes divers make. That was just off the top of my head, just information that was just kind of a brain dump. And 4 days later, that 41-page document was done. You know, I edited it with my friends and everything like that, no editing stuff. And then we made that. And then that just sits. So the big work that I actually do is the Nova Southeastern University Academic Dive Program. That's my full-time job. Love it. Love my team there is just brilliant. We've got about 19 dive masters and instructors there. And we're doing hundreds of students each semester. So because of that, it's a very busy program. So when I want to do the podcasts, and my online courses, I have a whole thing called Scuba Guru Academy, which is online courses too. Those are all done in my creative hours. So they're all those early mornings, sometimes night, but I like to reserve night for my family, relaxing, having a beer, you know. So I really try to avoid working at night, and I get the majority of it in the early.
Yeah, sounds a good plan. I'm a bit of an early person rather than... Yeah. So what we do with our guests, we have 5 questions we ask everyone. So we'll go ahead and ask you those. So they're kind of the same questions. We just get different answers from everybody. So what's your favourite dive location, or have you got a dive location still on your wish list or bucket list?
I think everything is bucket list, wish list. Yeah. I haven't been to the sexiest locations that everybody always talks. And the reason is because my first year as a scuba instructor, I started to train other instructors. And because of that, when you train other instructors and you do that type of thing, it's not like you're flying all over the world to go to exotic locations to train them. You're really doing it back home, keeping it cheap and inexpensive as possible for people that want to go the role of becoming instructor. And it takes a fair amount of time, so it's usually local. So because of that, I've been pretty bound. Bon Air is a place that I want to go really badly, really bad. Next month, I get to go to Socorro, so I get to check that off of my bucket list on the Socorro Aggressor to do shark cage diving. I cannot wait for that. It's going to be epic. So that will be a bucket list check off. But if I had to qualify the best that I've done, it was Turks and Caicos. Turks and Caicos, aboard the Turks and Caicos Aggressor, was my best dive vacation. I have a week in Turks, and it's wall diving, it's flat seas. My wife tends to get seasick, so we never wanted to go to locations that had the more bumpy passages on liveaboards. So that was just ideal for it. So I would have to say Turks and Caicos is #1 destination that
sounds good. Your favorite marine animal and why?
That's a good one. I would fear that this is going to come across as cliched, but it's not when you see all of the works of art behind me. They're all dolphins. I think I have one shark back there, but they're dolphins. I have just this connection with the dolphin. It is a marine mammal that looks elegant underwater. It's playful. It's peaceful. It's ferocious when it needs to be. Everything about a dolphin speaks, and that to me is my spirit animal, right? For diving. That's the one creature that I bond most.
Good choice.
A feeling, a true emotional feeling.
Yeah, nice choice. We like that. Can you give us 3 people who you choose to dive or free dive or snorkel with from history, or they're about today? Could you give us 3 people who you choose to dive with?
Yeah, absolutely. #1 would be it would actually be Jesus, and the reason is, I know this sounds funny, but just catch the thing.
Right, go on.
In the Bible, there's a passage where when Jesus comes back, he's walking with couple of disciples and they don't know it's Jesus, and they're talking on the road to Emmaus. And as they're talking, as it says in the Bible, Jesus then tells them everything in the Bible regarding him, from Moses to the minor prophet. What that means is that if you go back and you look at the ancient historical writings and you look at the first books of the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, written by Moses, presumably, most theologians say. That means that Jesus pointed backwards in history to say, I did all, and this is where I was in this story, and this story, and this story, and this story. So he gave, in my opinion, the best Bible study ever was to be given was in a 7-mile stretch of road with these 3 people walking, right? Jesus and the 2 disciples. Can you imagine like being underwater and having the ability to ask your creator, why is that fish like that? Why is that tail like? Why is that color like? Why is that mouth like that? Why can that fish have that eyesight and that fish doesn't? And then I'd want him to take me like to the bottom of the ocean, right? Because if you're with Jesus, you can, right? And then why is that fish here? And what? Imagine what that lesson would be like, because only our minds can come up with what we think. And what we think based on science is really good. And we've come up with some amazing things. I just can't help but imagine what it would be like if the creator actually explained why. So that gives me goosebumps just thinking of that. So as corny as that might sound as an answer, that'd be my number one person I want to go diving. Number 2 and 3, my grandfather and my mother. They both are not with us anymore. My mother's birthday was July 4th, just a couple days ago. She would have been 81 years old. I took my first open water diver class with her. Wow. She couldn't finish the class because she had a round window membrane rupture and then had permanent problems with her ears from that day forward and could not ever dive again. Right. So my mom and my grandfather were the ones that taught me to swim, that put me in the pool every day of my life, and they taught me. And all of that is my foundation for aquatic comfort. It's why I love being underwater. It's why, I have no hesitation to jump in the ocean, I'm not afraid of things underwater or how I feel underwater. It's as comforting as my bed at night. It's that important to me. And they were the ones that made it happen. So if I could have them with me underwater to say, look what you helped me do, and now let me show this underwater world to you, that would be one of the sweetest experiences ever. It really would.
Brilliant. What is your favorite piece of dive kit?
Without fail, my favorite piece of dive gear is a freediving fin.
Any particular one?
Well, right now I'm trying the C4. If you know about the freediving C4 fin, it's a carbon fin. It's amazing. I've never felt anything like it underwater. Now, I say freediving fin. That particular fin, I would only use freediving. I wouldn't throw it with my scuba stuff, because if I'm on a dive boat and I don't want these things to split as I'm making my way off the boat, ladder, all the challenge. But a freediving fin, I think, is one of the coolest technological things that's out there. And if you think about it, what's going on that makes it so great? Well, who in the world needs to have the best air consumption? It's freedivers, right? Yeah. So where's the logic in putting the biggest piece of plastic or graphite or whatever onto the foot? Why would we put the biggest piece on somebody if we need to conserve the most energy? It's because of how much energy transfer there is in a long blade fin. So whether it's scuba diving or free dive, by these long, graceful, elegant strokes, you get so much continuous power and flow that it keeps your breathing down, it keeps your heart rate down. And to me, I think that is an ingenious piece of gear, because if I'm scuba diving, I'm barely moving. The other thing is, if I'm dive mastering and I'm leading a group, I can be on my back watching the group heading into a current and just taking the fins and literally sculling like that. That's all I'm doing, just with my ankle. And the fin blade is so big and catches so much water that it's keeping me in position, which is amazing. So if you've done it, Ian, you've done your dive master protocols. Remember, when you've got to have a group on the line, and one of your protocols is you have to be off the line to supervise. Well, in some of the raging currents that exist, right, that's almost an impossible thing. Not if you're in long blade fins and you get your body just right, you're arched back, here you are, and now those fins are just doing their thing. You're hydrodynamic, the fins are doing the work, and you're not even breathing. And your students and everybody on the line is going, I can barely hold on the line. How can you be swimming out there and you're not, freaking out and all?
I'm going to look them up.
Scuba diving and free diving, I am totally into long blade fins, no matter what brand. There's great, you can do plastic long blade fins with nice foot pockets for your scuba dives. And that way you're not worried about them splitting or cracking. And then move up to a nice carbon fiber fin like the C4 when you're doing your more deep free dives, or a spearfisher person, you're doing that. I love them. I geek out about free diving. So there you go. There's my answer about that one.
That's good.
Last question. So you've got a billboard, and you can put a message on there, a quote, an image, a message, a question, whatever you like, but there's something you want to get out to the millions of people out there. What would you put on that billboard, and why?
Oh my, that's a really cool one. I love that. Okay. My original answer, like what was going through my head at first, was my normal soapbox, right? Which is don't take abbreviated classes. So there's my soapbox item, but I think I've talked too much about that in this podcast already. Everybody gets that picture. It would be redundant. So I'm going to not do that. Instead, I would have a picture of the movie Jaws, the iconic picture of the shark and the lady at the surface and says Jaws. And I would put Jaws is a lie. That's what I would do. And the reason being is that I have seen more people say, I will never die because of Jaws, because I watched Jaws. Yeah. Now, it could be that new movie with all the sharks, and whatever that one was, it just came out, 30 Meters Down or something like that. I think that's what it is. And apparently there's some shark stuff in it too. All right. And I've heard people say, oh, I won't do that. But like Jaws, because there's been so many people in my life that have said, I won't dive because I'm absolutely terrified of sharks. Well, what made them terrified? It wasn't the undersea world of Jacques Cousteau. It wasn't David Attenborough, Blue Planet. It's not of that stuff. It's movies like Jaws that have glorified this eating machine. And that's simply not true at all. We are not part of their food chain. We exist underwater just fine. They don't eat surfers. They bite because they think that they might be something. As soon as they know it's not their meal, they don't eat. So we don't have eating going on. Everybody thinks, though, that this is what's happening. So that would be my billboard. Jaws is a lie.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. There'll be a lot of people who would agree with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. That's really good. Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's been really great chatting to you, and I'm sure we'd love to have you back as well, because you've got just so much to say. And
Thank you.
And that's what we do with our guests. We never say that's it. We like to keep in contact, and obviously, sort of become a friend of the podcast. And obviously, if there's anything we can do for you, and likewise, both ways, keep in contact.
That's so nice. Thank you very much. Yeah, and I'll be happy to share this with everybody too on all of our social channels, and I'll mention it in my podcast too, that people can go check this out. But yeah, thank you for this. It was a wonderful time and a lot of fun, and I wish you the absolute best in getting through the certification.
Yeah, it's been
so exciting.
Yeah, it's really, great. So you've inspired me again more.
Good. All right then. Well, thanks again for the invite. It's really been a treat.
Yeah. And we'll definitely keep in touch. Yeah, thank you very much.
You got it.
Okay.
Thanks for your time. Stay safe.
Thanks. You too. All right.
Okay.
We'll see you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Monday morning comes around again. There's a concrete jungle is surrounding my head, and I want to be free. That's why I'm dreaming of the same.
Right, everybody, that was all good. I enjoyed that. Hope you did as well, Gemma.
Yeah, no, it's full of variety, isn't it? Free diving, diver, yoga.
church, man of God.
Yeah.
So brilliant, you know, and thoroughly enjoyed that. And I look forward to catching up with Tech soon, really, again. That'd be good to get him back on, get a catch up.
Yeah,
And, and I think I like people like that, you know, because you learn different things, not just about diving, but you actually learn about what makes them tick as well, and I like that. You know, that's good. So the word for the day is #transform. Yeah, so put that above your fridge, or put that above your mirror, wherever you go in. You can even put it in the loo. Who knows? But it doesn't matter, as long as you go there every day. #transform. There we go. And that's something that I'll be using on my social media and BiG social. So #transform. There we go.
Yeah.
So that's kind of us really done, really, I think.
Yeah, that's episode 27.
Yeah. Who's coming up next? Who are we going to have on the big Scuba podcast next?
I think we're going to have Mark Evans.
Mark Evans, yes. If you don't know who Mark Evans is, why not? He is the editor and editor-in-chief of Scuba Diver magazine, a really great magazine, very informative of the world of scuba diving, anything to do with underwater. So he's also the man behind the Go Diving show up in the Midlands in the UK. So went to us now. I think we've been to it twice. I have, and brilliant. It's quite a new show, and it should be coming about in February next year. So fingers crossed, as long as everything stays the same on the whole COVID front and everything. So that'll be happening, and it's a really good show. It's where we got to meet Andy and Miranda, got to speak to Steve, Monty. So they're all, you know, the usual celebs and characters all get down there, and other podcasters and YouTubers, and plus all the usual buyers. That's brilliant. It's well worth going to. But anyway, you'll hear more about that on the next episode on the BiG Scuba podcast. Okay, have a good week, everybody, and we'll speak to you all soon.
Yeah.
That's us.
Bye.
Say